Welcome, everyone, to our live stream, Deck Out Your Dorm Room on a Dime. I'm Reagan Anson with Education Quest, and it is my great pleasure tonight to be joined by Chazza Hoffmeister, Principal Designer at Chazza Hoffmaster Design. And that's a residential and commercial interior design firm located here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Chazza, we are thrilled that you were able to join us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited about this topic.
Great. As with every other monthly live stream, we will give away an insulated coffee mug or water bottle to one lucky winner tonight. We're going to put a link in the comments right now. So all you have to do is click on the link to register to win, and we'll announce the winner at the end of our presentation. So be sure to stay tuned. Also, we will take time at the end of the presentation to answer your questions. So please be sure to post any you may have in the comments as we go. We don't want anyone to forget anything super important. So Chazza, I don't know about our viewers, but I am permanently hooked on HGTV. And I like to think that I have a working knowledge of interior design based on my show watching, but I'm guessing that nothing could be further from the truth. So we wanted to bring you in, an expert on design, to help our audience as they start to think about pulling their dorm rooms together this fall or apartments. And so we'll just go ahead and get started with a few questions. It feels like we should start with how to arrange the movable furniture. So let's talk a little bit about the pros and cons of bunking or lofting beds. Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. So just like any design project I take, the first thing you want to do is just space plan your room. You can start by measuring, and now that kind of goes hand in hand with your roommate. And depending on whether you guys are going to do a bunk bed or whether the room fits two separate beds, it all depends. But let's just say yes, you can do a bunk bed. I think it's a great option, and there's pros and cons to it. One of the biggest pros to it is basically it's going to free up some space. Being able to have the bed, obviously on the top bunk, and then freeing up that space below. You can use that for, you can put a desk, you can kind of personalize it. You can make it into a little lounge area, maybe put some accent chairs in there, kind of make it into a little cozy seating area if you want to think of it that way. The other thing is it can provide additional storage. So a lot of bunk beds nowadays, they come with the built-in, say, shelves or drawers. So that kind of, then you don't have to get a separate storage unit or storage, drawers or something to add to the room. And the last thing, again, just kind of, you can make it personal to however you want to, with beddings, or it can add an accent to the room. The cons to it is obviously safety, getting in and out at night, falling at night, or I think the other thing is if you get injured, that's something to think about. That would be kind of just it would be difficult to get in and out. Some people can find it a little cramped to sleep on a bunk bed, just because if the ceiling is a little bit lower, that can give you that feeling. So just a few things to think about when they were considering
dorm room space. I mean, space is at a premium. I just keep having this image of the movie Step Brothers in my head where they're like, we have so much more room for activities.
Yep. So no, they can be helpful, but yeah, there's some cons to them too.
Absolutely. So I've heard, in my show watchings, designers say to pick one thing to build a design around, like a rug or a comforter, or posters. What are your thoughts on that? Is that helpful?
Absolutely. And I also use that. You can use, sometimes that can be the foundation to your design scheme. So it can be your inspiration for your color palette, whatever you're putting in your room. Say, for example, if you use like a vibrant rug or like a piece of art, and it's a way to also show your personality with that piece. But then you build everything in the room based on it. And when you're doing your color palette, it's kind of nice to do the rule that we try to stick to. It's like kind of the 60-30-10 rule. So your 60 is your main color, your dominant color. So that can be your biggest items, your bed, your walls, even your rug sometimes. Then you move on to your 30%, which is your secondary color. And that can be, like a smaller accent chair or bedding sometimes. And then your 10 is your accent color. And that can be your like an accent pillow or a throw. So trying, you do want an item to be a focal point. You do want it to be like kind of prominent, but you don't want it to be overwhelming. So whatever you use, just kind of keep that kind of scale in mind. But yes, I totally started design with a piece, and it kind of inspires the whole room.
Yeah, I mean that's great advice, and I've never heard those the percentages before. So
Yeah.
that's really helpful.
Yeah.
So in talking about the beds a little bit, I mean those seem like it's probably the biggest piece in the room, right?
Mhm.
So how can people make them look inviting without making them difficult to maintain? I mean, I'm guessing maybe stay away from white. I don't know if other students do this, but I was always eating on my bed. I did everything on my bed. So what advice would you give for people about how to make those beds look more inviting?
I think with dorm rooms, you want something definitely practical.
Mhm.
Um, Something that's easy to make, to wash first of all, which actually that was another point I was going to bring up to the bunk bed thing. You got to think about, changing sheets. That
Right.
can also be impractical. That was one of the other things that I thought about as a con to bunk beds. But with bedding, sometimes, if your sheets are white, those are the ones that are going to get washed the most. Something that you can wash in, hot water. But as far as like a comforter, that can actually add a lot of personality to your room. It adds texture, color. So just use something that can be washable in a machine and doesn't need to be dry cleaned. Um, so that would be the biggest thing. But yeah, take advantage of uh, that item because you have to have it, and it is kind of it covers a good space.
Right,
Right.
right. So
Yeah,
check out those tags. Make sure there's no
yes,
dry clean
yes.
because that's
Just as
expensive.
long as as long as they're durable, kind of, and there are a lot of good affordable options. I think microfiber is a good one too. That it's
Oh,
very easy to wash, kind of.
and nice and soft and
Yes, for sure.
inviting for sure.
Yeah.
So a lot of I don't know if dorms are still this way because it's been a minute since I lived in one, but we had like, hard flooring. It was like I don't know what you call it, terrazzo or something like that. So
Yeah.
a lot of students would bring in rugs. So when we talk about rugs, is there a rule on how big they should be? What color would you advise? Because obviously dorm rooms probably get pretty dirty. There's a lot of in and out, and any fabric advice on what might be the easiest to keep clean and maintain?
Again, it all kind of depends. It's also been a while for me since I've been in a dorm room, but it all depends on the size of the room. Now, in a dorm room, I would probably imagine I would cover most of the area in a rug. Again, the rules kind of with design kind of don't necessarily apply to this because it's not traditional furniture or it's not a traditional furniture placement. But as long as it covers a good portion of your flooring, clearly a dark color will cover your stain better. Something like a synthetic material, like a nylon, would be probably your easiest thing to clean. But again, that's another opportunity to show your personality, add color, add texture. Um, Something to cozy up the room too.
Yeah, absolutely. And rugs do that really quickly. I notice it even in my own
Oh yeah,
house. A few
absolutely.
throw rugs just change the whole vibe.
Oh
So
yeah.
so what about curtains? I mean, sometimes some dorm rooms come with them, others don't. What would you advise students in the dorms? Is there, I mean, obviously there's a purpose if they want the room to be darker, but is there a real design piece with that you could talk about?
Yes, I absolutely love curtains, and I would highly encourage them in your room because they soften up the space. Um, they're just again another item to bring one more texture to the room. So if you're feeling the space is too flat, too cold, you bring in more textures. It doesn't mean sometimes people make the mistake of bringing like heavy pattern and lots of items, but all you need is just textures. So that would be a great way to do it. Again, another opportunity to kind of apply that accent color in, or even that 30%, the secondary color in. If you feel with sheets that are or bedding that's more flat, this is an opportunity to maybe bring a print in. But then also they serve a functionality purpose. So they can be, other than making the room feel more cozy, in my opinion, they can also filter light for you depending on what the windows already have. They might have the plastic blinds, but then that would be an additional layer of blocking light. Actually, they can also help with noise as well. So I would no, I love them, and always remember to hang them as high as possible to the ceiling.
Great
Yep.
advice. I need to adjust mine here in my house.
Yes. Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about towels, because they're often on display in a dorm room. Everybody, they're hanging out to dry. Would you recommend coordinating those with the comforter with the accent color specifically? Should they be white so that they kind of blend in and you can wash them in bleach and hot water? Would love to hear your thoughts on this.
It's kind of more of a personal preference as far as what color you want. Now, if they are on display, yes, it will make a nice visual kind of look for the room if you have them hanging to have them coordinate. But again, for as far as maintenance and convenience, yes, white towels are probably the easiest to wash. But that can be completely a personal preference on whether you want to coordinate them or just kind of go with straight white. Yep.
We talked a little bit about bedding. Kind of the same question with regard to sheets. Do you have any thoughts on that? I'm guessing all the colleges tell students make sure they're extra long twins usually. Yeah. So those can be hard to find, but any thoughts about color on those?
With the sheets, I would probably, you're going to have your comforter on top of them, but yeah, just something. You can, again, just more of a personal preference. They can go either white or they can go with a color that goes with the bedding, either way. But again, for cleaning purposes, I think white is always kind of a safe. That way you can put your sheets and your towels in hot water. Be done with
one load of laundry. Start practical. I like it.
Yeah, practical.
And less money if you're using quarter machines. So
there you go. Yeah.
So a lot of colleges, most colleges actually, don't allow students to paint their walls. Mm-hmm. So it becomes, or sometimes even poke holes in the wall. So sometimes it becomes difficult to try to, display an art piece. So I know when I was in school, poster art was a big thing. Is there anything you'd recommend in terms of wall art, or, in terms of if a student does want to use posters, anything with size or any creative ways on how to hang stuff?
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of just kind of mixing different sizes, and it all depends on. It would be really nice to coordinate with your roommate if you get along with them and kind of try to go for a similar theme. You don't have to have the same exact style, but and it depends on how much wall space you have as well. But mixing, different sizes with like a large, medium, small, just kind of making an arrangement of it. That's kind of always kind of eye-catching. This is actually a great way to kind of show your personal style as well. And kind of, I love wall art that kind of tells a story. So that can be something that it can be, a collection of pictures showing, I don't know, something from trips you've been on. It doesn't have to be something that you have to buy that has to be expensive. It can be just something personal that you brought from home. It can actually be even, I have like pieces of fabric displayed that kind of have a personal meaning to me. And then it would be a great conversation starter when someone comes to your room. So that is definitely one area I would take the time to put something that is more meaningful. Mm-hmm. And not necessarily that's something you have to buy that has to be expensive, or not expensive, but has to cost you, or something you can bring from home that kind of, you can tell people about. Yeah. But yeah, mixing and matching. As far as hanging on the wall, they do have that those plastic ones, the adhesive ones. I usually use them when, when I would do pictures and stuff. They, it's easy. I can't remember what they're called.
I think they're command hooks or something.
Yes, yeah, something like
or I'm sure there's a.
Great. Yep.
No, yep. We didn't have those back in the day, so we were using tape. Which is not a good idea, but that's great ideas, and I love the idea of having things that are personal to you, because when you're first off to college as a freshman, you can get a little homesick, and so if you can something that gives you a good feeling and reminds you of home. That can be helpful as well. So great idea. How else can students add some personal touches to the room that maybe don't take up a ton of space?
So everything we've talked about, that's again great ways to show your personal style and personality in your room. You can always just do just maybe, plants, like a small plant. That's something else that you can bring from home that also reminds you of at home. Just something small like a vase or anything that you can display. But again, I really do highly encourage people to kind of put something more personal, not just something that you want to go out and buy. To fill the space, because then that's when it ends up kind of a hodgepodge kind of look. Whereas we're like, do your bedding, get the color palette established, and then yes, if there are any items, smaller items to bring in that show your personality, that you can tell a story about, I would definitely go that route.
That's great advice. So, as we've been talking, we haven't really touched too much on cost.
Mhm.
And I know, college students are broke, right? So, I know they're going to want to do this on a budget. What tips would you have for people as they're starting to go out and shop, how to do all of this and stay on a budget?
So again, I with any project we start with a budget sheet. So this should not be any different. So start with kind of how much you want to spend, and then kind of make a list of your wants and needs. Once your wants are taken care of, then whatever is left, or sorry, needs first, and then you go to your wants. But for example, for bedding, instead of having to go buy a comforter separately and then your sheets, sometimes when you buy those sets, it's a lot more affordable doing it that way. Again, if there's anything that you can bring from home, which would serve both purposes, making it more personal, reminding you of home, and then saving money, that would be a great way to do it. And there's just a lot of sales, I would say, especially when school is about to start. I do like Home Goods. I do like Target. They always have those aisles for dorm rooms. So I would probably go there to kind of keep the budget.
Those are great places to start. And I know this new generation loves to thrift. So
Yep.
go thrift some stuff
Yep.
and find some unique pieces. So
Absolutely.
your insight is so helpful, Chaza. I know our audience is going to find it helpful as they start their back to school shopping and planning. I think we're going to take some audience questions if that's okay. Are there any design trends that you're seeing right now that might fit well with a dorm room or a new apartment?
I know a lot of bright colors are back in. So, but again, this is kind of more I feel like has to be more personal, because even if the trend is bright colors and you do not like it, don't do it. Do what makes you feel comfortable. Your dorm room should be the space where you go in, you relax, you unwind at the end of the day. It's kind of your little safe space away from college life and people and activities. So just kind of focus on making that space comfortable to you. You want it to be pretty, but again, yes, do whatever style you prefer, a space where you like to hang out versus kind of trying to follow trends. But yeah, I know bright colors is over.
Bright colors. And I've also noticed, and this has been the last couple of years, but noticed definitely mid-century modern vibe.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Pretty huge. So, but I but like what you're saying, this is your safe space. Make it cozy for you and fun for you. Let's see. How do you get your design ideas?
Interesting question. I don't know. I usually have to be in the space, and usually just through talking with clients. Usually the conversations just kind of brings it. Sometimes they can start talking about a trip they took, or they start kind of repeating the same, like, oh, I love this piece. Or when they're showing me pictures, like it's always it goes back to one color or item or like kind of style. But yes, I usually do whatever the clients kind of guides me to do, and then I expand on that.
Yeah, because you want to personalize it to them, just like we were talking about throughout this
yes.
podcast. It's so personal. So,
Mhm.
we did have a question come forward about any suggestions you might have for someone moving into an apartment. Would a lot of the same principles apply, or is there anything that you would add? It's a little different. Obviously, there's a little more space and that sort of thing.
I would say space planning is number one. I think that the biggest mistake you find is people buying items, but the scale is completely wrong. If you do
Oh,
have, I mean, it can be on a piece of paper, but you have to measure. You have to measure your space. You have to make sure that the furniture fits, and not just the furniture fits. You have to make sure that you can move around easily. Space flow is essential. So a table might fit, but you need to make sure that once you put chairs and you want to get out of the chair, you do have enough room. So I think one thing would be just to make sure not to overcrowd a room or an apartment or a living room. And then as far as then, with the rugs and stuff, that kind of, then yes, that kind of does apply, because when you're doing a rug, a lot of times you walk in a room and the rug is too small. Then just gonna make sure that you have a big enough rug to where like your furniture kind of covers a little bit of it, or sometimes light fixtures are too small for the space. So yeah, so there are different rules because you do have bigger space, but I would say space planning, if you get that right, and then your colors and everything flows. But
well, and I love how you said don't overstuff the apartment. That's so true. Like, and good thing minimalism is in. So that
yeah,
there you go.
and that's less stuff to buy, so cheaper.
Exactly. Way cheaper.
Yep.
Last question we'll take is how could I decorate a study table to make it more attractive?
I love table lamps, so that's a great way to just kind of add some dimension. So whenever you walk into a room, you want something that can add depth, textures again, and that can be with fabric, with furniture. But for a desk, a table lamp, a plant, add
Mhm.
greenery. Greenery is a great way to kind of add color, add texture, add different dimensions. You can have some books. You can have maybe one of those trays to where to keep your paper organized, so it's not like scattered all over. That would be another way to also add texture. They make them out of different materials, so that's another way to add kind of personalization to your desk.
Yeah, those are great tips. So thank you to our audience members for the great questions. And if you're interested in learning more about Chazza Hoffmeister Designs, we're putting the link to her website in the comments now. So feel free to reach out to her and look at her beautiful website with all of the wonderful things she's done. Before we wrap up and get to our prize drawing, I just want to remind our audience that the best way to stay up to date with everything college related is to follow Education Quest on our social media. We're on everything: Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all the things. And just by following us or liking us, you have a chance to win a $500 Get Social scholarship. So it's worth it. We're putting a link in the comments right now also to our Countdown to College publication. Sign up for that. It's our e-newsletter. It helps keep you up to date on all the important deadlines that are important to college going people, and also you can make an appointment with Education Quest for free help, or call us anytime with questions. All of our phone numbers are at educationquest.org, so feel free to reach out. And you can also now make appointments online, which is really exciting, so please take advantage of that. So now the moment everyone's been waiting for: who wins a free water bottle or coffee mug? And our winner tonight is Marie Darbo. So Marie, congratulations. We'll be reaching out to you via email with details. Thanks again, everyone, for joining us. Chazza, thank you again so much for being here. Loved visiting with you and getting all of your amazing design tips. So we'll see our audience all right back here on August 9th at 7 p.m. when we'll talk about how to get along with your roommate. So you don't want to miss that. We'll see everybody